collaboration with the Cyprus Mail. This is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
Coming up on the programme this week, what's happening to the money that's collected when people pay for their plastic bags?
The idea that a fund should have been created so the money would go in was something that a lot of the MPs, not only from the Green Party, agreed with, but the government insisted that it was too much money to administer a fund like that for the pennies that were going to be coming through. So right now they said in the law that everybody that is collecting this money, logistically, they have to put it separately on their books, and then they have to show that they're using it for some sort of green purpose.
And we visit the heart of old Nicosia, where a hugely successful pop-up community has sprung up over the last year and a half. We talk to the mayor about the imminent closure of the Agora, and he pledges to try and find a solution.
The whole project idea was a great success. It will be a pity to see it go away. So the municipality will be coming up with some proposals.
And we talk to one of the protagonists of the Agora project. They're hoping that somehow they'll be able to continue their work.
So we try to create an open space for people that they want to share and they want to learn from each other.
Well, it's about a year, I think, since plastic bags were charged for in Cyprus. It was an awful long time coming, but thankfully it's been accepted, it seems, by the majority of shoppers. Now, the whole idea, as I understood it at the time, was that those who insisted on their plastic bags would pay a small fee, and that money would go into a fund which would be used to make people aware of environmental issues and particularly the use of plastic. Is that happening? We're joined on the programme this week by the Deputy President of the Green Party, Effie Xanthou. So, Effie, what's happening to that money? Because there must be a fair amount in the fund. You do still see people paying their, I think it's €6 per bag, and that mounts up. Where's the money? What's it being spent on?
Well, the reason that most people consider that that's what's going on, that there's a fund right now for climate change or some sort of green project going on, is because that was our original legislative proposal from 2007. Our proposal was not discussed because they said that it was going to turn into an EU directive. And when we did get the EU directive, it took them 3 years to actually push it through, although normally we should have made it at least within the 2 years since it came into force. Anyway, the idea that a fund should have been created so the money would go in was something that a lot of the MPs, not only from the Green Party, agreed with, but the government insisted that it was too much money to administer a fund like that for the pennies that were going to be coming through. So right now they said in the law that everybody that is collecting this money, logistically, they have to put it separately on their books, and then they have to show that they're using it for some sort of green purpose. Now, whether it's promoting reusable bags or tree planting or funding an NGO that has green objectives, there is no stipulation within the legislation.
So hang on a minute, the supermarkets themselves have got their pot of money from the plastic bags.
So they're supposed to be administrating it themselves towards a green purpose. Now, no, there is nothing in the legislation that says who is going to go and check them for it.
That's what I was going to ask you, is how do we know that they're spending it on what they're supposed to be?
Which is the reason that actually on Wednesday, the 17th of July, the Parliamentary Committee for Environment is going to be discussing how this law is actually being utilised. There is nobody that is doing the checks and balances, although the only people that have access to be able to do this would be Internal Revenue right now. They're the only ones that check into the balances of these areas. And I also want to stipulate that we're not only talking about supermarkets, we are talking about anybody that is selling their products and they're using bags, whether it's a restaurant that is doing deliveries, whether it's a bakery, whether if it's just, somebody that sells clothes, they all have to charge the €6 or even more. So for instance, if you're going into a store that is using these really heavy plastic bags or the paper bags, they are allowed to charge you more because they are more expensive to produce. The 6 euro cents was the minimum that we put in the legislation. So it's up to them if they're going to charge you or not for the bag and whether you're going to be reusing it or not. Now, it seems to be a success. I mean, there's 80% reduction in ordering these plastic bags to be sold to the various dispensers, let me call them. But at the end of the day, nobody's actually checking where the money is going to, which is why we're making a call to all the environmental NGOs that are registered, that have their number in the registrar of NGOs, that they should actually come to their local businesses, inform them about the work that they're doing, and ask them if they would like to fund their projects with the money that they have to allocate. Because according to the law, they do have to. And I think that most of these, especially the small, medium-sized enterprises, would be actually very happy to find a way to utilize this in a local area. I mean, even if it's about greening a park, whether the municipality comes over and tells them, we could really use your money to be able to fix up this park. It could even be in an area where most of their customers are. Or, for instance, Cans for Kids, that does this great job of reutilizing tins. If they could actually utilize a restaurant, for instance, their production of tin cans is massive every single day. They could spend like the €250 that you need for one of the big bins to be able to pick up the cans, and it would really be good for showing within their own logistics that they're actually abiding by the law.
But none of this is going to happen, Effie, until they know that somebody is going to come along, look at their books and say, oh, you've collected €300 in the last 18 months.
Mm-hmm. And it's not just that, it's not €300. I mean, there has been a reduction in the use of plastic, but just consider all the restaurants that are doing delivery. There is no way that they're not using a plastic bag.
But they're not charging customers for them.
Oh, yes, they are. If you check your receipt, you will see that they are charging the 6 euro cents. Every single delivery that is using foodie.com, for instance, which is one of the biggest delivery systems that you have within the island right now, are charging the 6 cents because they're all going through the system. So the point is, what is a restaurant doing with that amount of money that they're collecting?
Well, the point also is, why are they still using plastic bags to deliver food?
Well, there's a lot of questions. Why are they using foam or styrofoam, which is something that is non-recyclable and is actually one of the biggest pestilence that we're going to have as microplastics in the years to come? Why don't we have an introduction of the new directive that basically says no to one-use plastic? And we have to realize that one-use plastic is also the plastic bottles. Whether you're taking a single drink from a kiosk, or whether it's the utensils that you take whenever you buy delivery, or the one-use plastic cups that you have for picnics or whatever, or massive wedding receptions and whatnot. I mean, I am devastated at the fact that we have new legislation that has gone through at an EU level, and our government considers that it will take the least steps possible to be able to enforce this legislation. And we're actually seeing small, medium-sized enterprises taking the initiative because they know that the directive is going to be enforced one way or another. So they've actually started bringing over cardboard straws or reusable silicone or metal straws to use with their customers. I've seen coffee bars that are, most of their work is done with delivery coffees. They've actually started bringing in cardboard that can be recycled and not be one use, although I'm not sure that that's going to be within the legislation, but it's technically not plastic.
But why is this legislation taking so long to get through our parliament? Surely if it's
No, it hasn't even been created from the Department of Environment, which is supposed to create these legislations.
But if it's an EU directive, surely all we have to do is sort of transpose it.
Yes, and the EU directive gives you 2 years to transpose the legislation. The reason that you have 2 years with the directives is because they give you time to transpose it into your own legislation, and also to give time maybe to the market to be able to accommodate itself. So normally right now we should have had a campaign that says in February of 2021 one-use plastic is not going to be allowed. And we're passing in legislation towards this. So be warned and make your necessary changes to your production line.
Yeah, but if it happens the same way as it did with the plastic bags, then they're going to wait till February 2020 to pass the legislation, and they're going to say, we have to give some time, so we'll give another 6 months or a year so that people can get used to the idea. This is ridiculous.
Very ridiculous and very frustrating, because we're seeing the same problems over and over again. The funniest of all, of course, is the fact that we have a president and a foreign minister that is saying that climate change is going to be our top priority, and we're going to make sure that it's going to be our arrowhead in spearheading our foreign policy. And I just laugh out loud every time that I hear it. I mean, we can't even make the simplest changes within our own legislation to accommodate climate change. We've been asking for a green fund for like forever. And this is not just about the money that is going to come in from plastic bags. This is about all the money that we're gathering already, for instance, from the taxes on petrol. The money that was supposed to be a green tax on using fossil fuels. Now, the money that is collected through our electricity bills is already supposedly going towards promoting renewable energy. But there is such huge scandals in the way that money is being utilised that we're actually wondering if everything is okay with that. On the other hand, if the big problem that our accountant general, because that's the person that is saying no to the creation of a green fund itself, if the big problem is the administration of the fund, then let's throw that money towards renewable energy as well and make sure that fund is being utilised correctly by the board of directors that is responsible for its dissemination. I would much rather see it go into this microfinance, microeconomy way of being disseminated, of each restaurant, of each medium-sized enterprise, or large enterprise if you're talking, for instance, for the big shopping chains or supermarket chains. But I would like to see that money being utilised at a local level and to be able to fund the small projects that are actually going to make a change in everybody's lives at a daily level. But if you can't, enforce it, then I don't see where the incentive is for anybody to utilise that sort of money.
I'm not sure what to say about all of that, but just think about it next time you go shopping. Check whether or not you are being charged, or even, why not ask the shop what they do with the money they collect from those plastic bags. That was Efi Xanthou, the Vice President of the Green Party in Cyprus.
Keep up to date with events in Cyprus and around the world with the Cyprus News Digest.
In the old part of Nicosia, right next to our brand new municipality, is what is known as Agora. Now, I've just been told by our mayor that actually refers to a place where meetings can take place and people can speak their minds, socialise and so on. Now, the old Agora was a marketplace. We had fishmongers, we had butchers, fresh fruit and veg. It's been empty for some time, but for the last 18 months or so, it's been, I think we could say, taken over with the permission of the mayor by young people who have created exactly what it used to be, a meeting place for citizens. Now, they have to leave by the end of July. I'm with the mayor to ask him why and what's going to happen to the space. So I'd heard, Konstantinos, that it was going to be, let's say, a research and innovation hub, but that means offices, doesn't it?
Yeah, yes and no. It's a research center, offices, and a one-stop shop to support new businesses, to provide solutions for new businesses. The RISE project, which is the one you referred to, the Research Center on Interactive Media, it's a project between the municipality, the 3 state universities of Cyprus, Open University, DEPAC, and the Cyprus University, the Max Planck Institute of Germany, and the University College of London. We proceeded to apply for a program in the Horizon 2020 projects. We got awarded 15 million from the European Union to do exactly this, and 15 million euro from the Cyprus government.
To do exactly what?
Research on interactive media and
okay,
provide solutions.
What's going to happen to the building? Is the building going to be knocked down? Or
no, we will proceed to renovate it, together with the building of STOA, adjacent, opposite it, in order to house the new research center.
My biggest fear is that with the young people having brought in, as I said at the beginning, let's say a social space in Old Nicosia for everybody, that if you've got, in effect, 9 to 5 office workers, the place is going to be dead.
No, it won't be dead. It will be different occupants, and they will give a boost. The whole idea was this is part of the rejuvenation of the Green Line, and we want to bring academia near the Green Line, and when politics and permit, we have a plan to open the crossing at the markets in order to bring the creative communities of both communities together.
Okay, what's going to happen though to the people who have been using this space so successfully? They've had events on pretty well every week since they took over. Are you going to provide them with an alternative space? Because they have created something, I think,
that is
in the
very
capital
nice.
That we never had before. It was always fragmented and only for certain people. They've been totally inclusive, which is something I know you've always supported. So what about the old municipality? Could they use that?
No, the project was our idea. I mean, let's start from the beginning. I mean, because the place was empty, we decided to allow people that took part in the last pop-up project, and we decided that it was so successful, and the people that participated were very creative and very inclusive, as you say. So together with Xenios from the Δημοτικών Κέντρων Τεχνών, from NIMAC, we had this idea of allowing them to stay for free in order to help them promote their products and promote the whole idea. And it slowly picked up, and you have now this Agora project in the old market. So we now have been discussing with lots of participants, and we certainly will evaluate and try to come up with some sort of a solution to keep that going. But I don't have a specific proposal yet.
Is there any way that they could use part of the space of the RAI? In other words, you've got the 2 buildings there, but it means that the area, come evening, when the people in the offices go home, would still be buzzing.
You can't. I mean, they have to evacuate the place because it will be a construction site. The whole place will turn into a construction site.
Yes, but once it's done...
Very difficult because the whole space is needed by the research center and the 5 universities. But as I said before, because we think it was a successful project, we will try to come up with some positive ideas of how it can move on.
You say you come up with some ideas. I presume you have been thinking about it,
Yes.
though, because I know that they have been pushing you, if you like, to see if there's any way they can continue what they've started.
Correct.
And it's entrepreneurship of a very different kind that's really benefited
many
the city.
types.
Yes.
It's
I mean,
many types.
they're not making a fortune. They're just being inclusive with what they do.
We're not against anybody making a fortune, but that's why I said it's many types of businesses, and that's what makes it very nice. There are some people that give language lessons for free. Other people are trying to set up their own business. It's other people are just trying to promote bi-communality. Other people are trying to...
They're recycling clothes and passing them on to the refugees and so
exactly.
on and so forth.
It's many nice nice ideas being developed by the majority. It's young people. And we've been discussing with them quite a bit. And I'm certain that we will have some type of positive proposal in the near future.
Are there any other buildings around this area? Because the great thing about this particular area is that it is right in the centre of all the little surrounding areas where there are refugees, asylum seekers, homeless people, poorer people, and you've always wanted to bring life back to the old city. That's why you've moved the municipality exactly here next door.
And we're renovating the neighborhood next door in Eschilou and Trikoupi.
So the whole area you're trying to regenerate it.
Exactly.
But you need the people.
But that's what I'm saying. I think it has been, the whole project idea was a great success. It will be a pity to see it go away. So the municipality will be coming up with some proposals, which I'm not going to discuss now.
Well, we will hopefully discuss that in the not-too-distant future. In the meantime, have you got any idea what these guys and girls are going to do for the next, 18 months, 2 years? It's going to be somewhat of a hiatus for them because they won't have a premises. And one wonders whether or not they'll be in a position to come back in a couple of years if you come up with an answer.
Our effort will not focus on continuing this in a couple of years, but to find an acceptable solution by everybody on how this project could continue as soon as possible in a much shorter term.
That's good news, I guess, for the people who've been working so hard down at the old market, or Agora, to bring life back to the old centre of Nicosia. And we've been talking to Nicosia's Mayor, Konstantinos Yorkadjis.
In collaboration with the Cyprus Mail, this is the Cyprus News Digest with Rosie Charalambous.
The biggest achievement of Crime Stoppers has been the ability of the public to be able to give information about crime anonymously.
There's no way I could have kept prostituting without the drugs. There's no way I could have had my body used like a public toilet, because that's actually what prostitution is.
And then the fourth series I started 3 days after I'd won the Oscar, so the whole of the Moloch of the Glen experience was all interplatted with the Gosford Park Oscar experience.
I was working with Ronnie James Dio, and David was going to reform Whitesnake in 2003.
Cyprus was chosen because Cyprus is a stable, peaceful and secure place.
We have to really look closely. What are we doing with children? What are we doing with adolescents? And what are we doing with adults that can help them move into a more literate situation?
The ones that I'm proudest of are the ones that were true discoveries, where we found something we didn't know existed.
Well, the Mayor says he's going to look for spaces to try and help the entrepreneurs who are currently housed in the Agora. And I'm joined by one of them now. He is Andreas Stylianou. Andreas, first of all, explain about the shop that you've been running for, a year and a half now?
Almost. The idea started before 12 months, more or less. I was an employer, but I was always going to make social project and to create my own reality, let's say. So we heard about this space. It was gonna be like a coffee shop. So different initiative. We make proposal to the municipality to give us the space, and we try to keep it public. So the idea, it was absolutely something different, but in the process, I started with Alexandros. We was about try to reusing waste. So Alexandros, it was more focused in upcycling material, so I was more focused in textile, and in the end of the process we become a collective. More people join the idea, so we have like a first hand that mostly is dead stock from shop that they close or is their last year, stock. We have second hand collecting stuff, vintage collection, and third hand that is upcycling through a person is part of the collective.
Yes, but we should explain that on some occasions you actually say, because refugees come here quite regularly, take what you want.
Yes.
So you give it away, and then the rest of it you sell at very knockdown prices. So it is a place where people who are on a budget can find items for their wardrobe, and it's another form of recycling, of course, because it's not going in the bin, it's going on to another owner.
Exactly. In our journey, we realized that the textile industry is the second bigger polluter in the world and the second bigger reason of human trafficking. So we try to increase awareness, and at the same time we want to extend the life of the clothes and the shoes and stuff like this. We create a collaboration with organizations that they support refugees, so we want to give them exactly at their needs. We have a stock that we provided. We make calls. People bring blankets for homeless, also is a huge problem in Nicosia.
So you're in a sense a sort of central one-stop shop for things that people who need items that we all take for granted can come and get, basically. Now let's talk about the bigger project of Agora and what's going to happen. Now the mayor, we've just heard from, has promised that he likes the idea of what you guys have been doing and he wants to help. Now, he said that he would be looking for a space that he could perhaps give you or rent you or whatever so that this type of project could continue. What do you say to that?
Our project, it was an experiment also for us to create something different in a more collaboration way. It's important to upgrade it and take it a step forward, as we realize that this is a very big need, especially in Nicosia, a lot of multicultural environment. People need somebody to support them, to include them. So we try to create an open space for people that they want to share and they want to learn from each other.
And that's been very successful. The great thing about the space that you're in and you now have to leave at the end of the month is its size, because you've got all these little pop-up shops around the edge, but you have that central area with tables and chairs where you hold events. People are free, as long as nothing else is going on, to hold meetings here. There are music events. It is, in a sense, a meeting place in the old town, which was dead, let's face it. It's not so very long ago that if you drove around any of these streets, it was just run-down buildings and no life. So you've brought life to it.
I think the words sometimes is very powerful. So Agora, in the old Greek starting, let's say, reality, it was a place for people to show their job, to sell, to promote their work, but at the same time it was a place to socialize and connecting the people. So we tried to create this at the center of Nicosia in a very historical building with zero funds, with the power that we want to do it, and we do it.
And what do you do next, though? Without a space, you can't continue, can you?
It's very difficult to go to the real market. I'm not interested to open a shop. I'm more social orienteering. We don't know. Now we want to make a nice closing event. We check some place and we're gonna try to continue to have a collaboration with the municipality. We're gonna push as citizens that these public spaces belong to the community, and we will try to take a place and keep the same idea as our project.
The same ethos. Well, I wish you luck in that enterprise and keep us informed when you do find a place and we can see the Agora project continue on its happy way. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you for all the energy that you give to this space. This space, you are our project. All the people that they pass here is our project. This is just a place the people make the difference.
And that is Andreea Stilianou, one of the entrepreneurs who's been working from the Agora in Old Nicosia. But as we've heard, and most of this programme has been dedicated to, it is going to be closing for renovation and become a research centre, starting at the beginning of August. Well, that about wraps up this edition of the Cyprus News Digest. Many thanks for your company. Hope you'll join me next week. Till we meet again, take care and God bless. Bye-bye now.